Hello and welcome to the Introduction to Spelling Shed webinar. I'm going to wait just another minute, see if anybody else is going to join, and then we will get started. Hope you've been having a good day so far. Excited to learn more about Spelling Shed. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So, welcome to the Introduction to Spelling Shed. Spelling Shed is a platform designed by a team of teachers. It's built with students, teachers, and parents in mind and aims to make spelling fun for students as well as simple for adults to manage. It was launched in 2017 by founders Rob Smith and Martin Saunders. Now, well over 20 million children across the world have access to Spelling Shed resources. We've continued to research the best spelling principles and pedagogical practices, and this has been applied to the Spelling Shed curriculum. It is a proven approach to teaching spelling. The curriculum is based on the most up-to-date, cutting-edge research into the teaching of spelling. It's used worldwide. EdShed is in 12,000 schools and another 27,300 teachers in schools around the world. Well over 20 million children around the world have had access to Spelling Shed resources. It's a K-5 curriculum aligned with the national and state standards. It includes full lesson plans, PowerPoint presentations, and printable resources and worksheets for the students. It will give you access to all of our Spelling Shed online games. There's a teacher hub, which allows simple management of the student records, different teachers and classes. There's an online tracking and data analysis system. You can set and monitor online assignments and homework. There are whole class Hive games, which can be a fun alternative to the weekly spelling test, which we'll go more into later. And we also have a new feature, which is an AI-driven program called Mastery Zone, which we'll talk about later as well. So what does the research say? Well, there are 5 main strands for being an effective speller: phonological knowledge, orthographic knowledge, morphological knowledge, etymological knowledge, and visual knowledge. Phonological knowledge or phonological awareness is the ability to recognize that spoken words are made up of individual sound parts. This includes recognizing onsets and rhymes, syllables, and graphemes or letters that represent individual sounds and words. Recognizing the graphemes that represent individual sounds and words is called phonemic awareness. Phonemic awareness is the most advanced skill of phonological awareness. Here we have a grade 2 and a grade 5 lesson. They're very different age groups, but you can see that we have a consistency of using phonemes throughout the grade levels. Often in the older grades, this skill is not practiced, but it's important to still include it to help build on learning more complex words. So moving on from phonics, we also need orthographic knowledge. The term orthographic knowledge describes the information that's stored in memory and guides us on how to compose spoken language into writing. We know there's many ways for spelling the long I and long E sounds, and we need to know when to use them as well. Orthographic knowledge is about knowing which letter sequences are possible and plausible. So this is an example of a stage 3 or grade 3 lesson, an independent activity after the teacher models this activity, and then the students will complete it on their own. And then we have Etymology. Utilizing etymology or the origin of words is another method that can help become an effective speller. Etymology helps explain why a word is spelled the way that it is. This is especially useful when you have unusual or irregular graphemes. The stage 3 lesson here helps explain the GH in the AIGH grapheme that is spelling the long A sound. It has to do with its German origins and former pronunciation. This fact can help explain the GH and many other words with Germanic origins. Etymology can help students not only better understand the meaning of a word, but also help them grasp the rationale for many spelling patterns in the English language. So here we have an example of a stage 3 or grade 3 lesson explaining etymology, and a stage 2 or grade 2 lesson as well. Next, we have the morphological knowledge. Morphology is about the study of the form of words and the parts that make them up and their relationship to other words in the same language. For example, knowing that uni means one, I can apply that to other words to help understand their meaning as well. I know that the meaning of all these involve the number 1. Throughout all grades, we have different ways of presenting the morphology of words. We discuss the meaning of roots and show other words that share the same root and similar meaning. We can also change the meaning of a word by adding a prefix or a suffix to a base word or word root. We also discuss the meaning of a suffix and how it changes the meaning of a base word. And here we have different examples ranging from grade 3 to grade 5. As well as whole group morphology activities, we also have opportunities for children to independently practice morphology activities on the printable worksheets. These are grade 2 and a grade 3 worksheet where children are practicing adding suffixes to base words. The Spelling Check curriculum is for years kindergarten through 5th grade. We have flexible timings to fit with your school's needs. So you would deliver the lessons weekly. Stage K or kindergarten is a little bit different. It has suggested center ideas to use with our kindergarten spelling lists. Stage 1 or grade 1 lessons are about 30 minutes long. Stage 2 are about 45 minutes long, and stage 3 to 5 are about an hour long. Each lesson has been designed so they can be taught as a single lesson on one day, or you can split them into a number of sessions delivered over the course of a week. So for example, you may decide to have 3 sessions per week. They can range for 10 to 20 minutes. And then there are different sections, the same structure throughout all the lessons, so they can easily be broken down. So as I said, the structure of the lessons is the same throughout the grades 1 through 5. And here is an example of a lesson plan, a worksheet that you could print out for the students, and then we have the PowerPoint. So I'll play that real quick so you can see what one example of a PowerPoint lesson would be. This would be a grade 3 lesson. So here, this is a review of words from the previous week. They're separating it by the sound. Next, these are the new words for the week that they're going over, and you're determining what is the pattern in these words. Then you have some opportunity to practice working with the words. This example is splitting it into different syllables. Next, we go into some examples of etymology, some morphology activities with a word matrix. This is a morphology and etymology combined, showing little bits of both about these words. Next, this is the teacher modeling part, where you do a word, you model a word, how to break it down into syllables and phonemes. Then the students get a chance to practice with a buddy or a group. You can go over the answers to those as well after they complete that. Next is going to be the opportunity where they get to practice this on their own. And then these are the activities that would be on the printable worksheets that you can print out that students can work on. You can review it as a class if you like. This is a word shed. And then at the end, there'll be blank activities as well on some of the different grade levels, so you can choose different words to practice the same activities. So all lessons follow the same structure. So if we look a little bit closer, we can break down this structure. So in the first part, there's going to be objectives. Each week, there's a set of words provided, and these words have examples of the spelling pattern. Then there's a revise section. Each lesson contains a revision section where children will revisit sounds and spelling patterns from earlier weeks in the curriculum. So this could be one of the parts you break down into a 10 to 20-minute session one day. Then we have the introduction and the main teaching point. In the introduction, children will be acquainted with the new words of the week. There'll be an explanation of how the words are linked. The lists are organized by spelling patterns, sounds, or affixes. In the main teaching input section, teachers and students will explore the words of the week. They'll examine aspects such as the number of phonemes and syllables, tricky sounds, and the morphology and etymology of the words. The teacher will model how to map the words either by phonemes, syllables, or both. Then the students will have an opportunity to practice with a peer and then independently. So I do, we do, you do type situation. So what is included as well is the independent section, the consolidation or reinforcement, basically the closing section, and then there will be extended learning idea options at the end as well. So in the independent section, this is where children will be working on the worksheets, the printable worksheets. There are differentiated tasks for you to provide the students for independent practice. They're in the form of worksheets that the children can work on offline. In grades 3 through 5, there are apply and investigate activities. You can choose for students to complete one or all of the activities to differentiate. In the consolidation and reinforcement, there's a closing section where you have the opportunity to review the words and their meaning and check for any final misconceptions. And again, the extended learning ideas at the end of each lesson, there are extra suggested activities that could be used in centers or stations or for additional practice. So the Spelling Shed curriculum, we also have an online component where there are games and progress monitoring and assessments. This is also where you will find the curriculum for you to download and print. There are a couple different ways to access this. On the left-hand side, this is your home screen dashboard. And if you look, Spelling Shed is clicked, and then over to the right, there's a tab that says Curriculum. So here you can select which grade level you'd like to look at, and it gives you some little shortcuts associated with each list. So here you can see the sample, the planning, you can click into the word list, you can go ahead and make it an assignment, you can create a Hive game or create a test. And we'll talk a little bit more about each of those different features. In addition, if you look in the top right, there's a tab that says word lists. And then underneath that, that's a place where you can create your own lists. You can favorite other lists that you've found. The spelling curriculum is, again, that same curriculum that was on this left-hand side, just in a different way of seeing it. So here you can click which grade level you like again. You can click details, and it'll take you directly to the spelling list. So down here, this last one, the bottom right, it'll show you the word, the phonemic breakdown, it'll give you a definition and example sentences. And then there's an action button where you can actually access the dictionary information. So if you're in a region perhaps that does not pronounce the grapheme the same way, you can go in there and specifically edit that word list for yourself, and it would create a new word list that would be under your word list that you can use for your personal preferences. In addition, if you want to see the games and play the games yourself to see what the students experience, if you go in the top right corner, it says play game, and you can click that and click into Spelling Shed and choose a different game and kind of wander around and see what it's like from the student view as well. So these are some examples of our online games. So on our online platform, we have games to support the spelling lessons. Some people use the online games on an interactive whiteboard as a class. Students can also play them on individual devices in class or at home. You can assign students a specific word list to play the games and practice spelling. They get to choose which game that they want to play with that list and at what difficulty level they are comfortable with playing. We've got a range of games for practicing the spelling objectives, as well as some additional vocabulary games and our mastery zone, which we'll talk about in a moment. The 4 games on the left are the games that count towards completing assignments, and the games to the right are extra word study games. This is one of our games, Spelling Bee. I'm going to play this video for you. So this spelling bee game can be assigned for practice, or you can assign it in something called test mode as an assessment. We'll talk more about test mode in a minute. So here is another game. This is one of our bonus games called Squirrel Scurry, and it's our newest game. It's a lot of fun. So you can choose between playing solo or playing against the computer, and play to reach the top, or play endless play. It keeps going as long as you can. There's a lot of difficulty settings. The one chosen here is medium. They spell the words that the word is spelled as it's read aloud, and it shows the word as you're typing it. The more words you spell, the quicker, the higher you climb. But if you make a mistake, oh, the squirrel will fall down into the lava and burn its little tail. In the end, it will say that you finish. It'll give you your score, your points, and your honey pot total too. So honey pots are a type of currency in our platform that students can use to decorate their avatar. So it's kind of a reward system. So as I mentioned before, there are assignments. So when you're working on a word list, we recommend assigning the students that word list for the week to play games. And again, they can choose which game they like to play with that and their own difficulty level. So when creating assignments on the online platform, it's the main way of giving students spelling practice outside of the lessons and offline independent work. In addition, you can set assignments in test mode, which is another form of assessment that students can complete at their own pace. So if you have different students working on different lists, or maybe a student is absent, or different timetables, it's an easier way to give an assessment that the students can complete at their own pace. There is also an option to limit the lists, so only active assignments that you've given them are seen until they play the required amount of games that you've set for them. Assignment sets are another way to give assignments. They can be used to assign our curriculum list, the Spelling Shed curriculum list, automatically. It will set the whole year's worth of assignments in one go, so you don't have to go in every week and assign them. And there's also a way where you can input blank weeks if you have a vacation or holiday, or you're not reviewing spelling that week. You can input a blank thing for that week, so they're not assigned a list. Students will have an assignment rank, which recognizes accuracy as well as game difficulty. So these are the rankings right here. Basically, Spelling Shed calculates the score by multiplying the last 5 or less games that they played by the average percent correct and the average difficulty level of those games. So this score reflects students' learning over time and helps build automaticity to make words really stick. So then we have Hive games. Hive games are played live with all students spelling the same word at the same time. A code is generated for students to log into the game. So it's kind of similar to Kahoot or one of those type of things where students get a code and you're all playing at the same time. Every student will need their own device. Teachers control the Hive game from the teacher hub, and there is a league table that's shown in between rounds. So basically how everybody's ranking will show up in between the words. Additional data is reported in the teacher hub with a grid of correct and incorrect spellings to show any trends. Hive games can be used as a whole class assessment, like a spelling test, but way more fun. They don't even realize it's a test. And then we have data. Here I've got a data grid that shows all the children, and across the top, I've got all the word lists. This can be really good for gap analysis because you can see, for example, list 15 got lots of children on red. That's maybe showing that I need to do that lesson in class again because the children are really struggling with that specific pattern. If I click that list, it will take me to the word list so I can see exactly which words they were struggling with. I can see which children are struggling as well from looking at this overview and help to pinpoint some of that. So the scores here on this grid, it's a competency score from 0 to 100 based on the last 5 gameplays. So if students have not played at least 5 games with that list, the number won't really make sense yet. Then we have a data grid at the bottom here. This is from an individual student's dashboard. This is what you would see as the teacher about an individual student. You can see how many times they've spelled the word, and you can also see if there are any errors and exactly what they were. You can start to notice if there are any misconceptions that you need to deal with as well. With the child's view, we can limit options when you're setting the assignments, as I mentioned before. This can be handy to prevent them from ignoring the assignment that you set. You can see on the screen here that they haven't got the option of seeing all the other games and playing any other games. So click. So on the right, top right here, this is an example of having an assignment and not being able to see the other games. On the left, this is what it would look like if they have completed their assignments or don't have any assignments. They can peruse all the different word lists through the grades. They have access to the Mastery Zone game. And we have another game called Buzzwords over here by the shed, which is they get a bunch of tiles, letter tiles, and they create as many words as they can with those letter tiles. So if you look on this bottom one, this is the home screen for the student once they log in. You can see there's a red square here next to assignments, and down here on Spelling Shed, that's showing them that they have an assignment to complete. So we also have the new Mastery Zone. Mastery Zone is an AI-driven EdShed tool that ensures each student's learning is focused on the words and spelling patterns they need to master to progress. Powered by our nanobees, Mastery Zone begins by guiding each student through a mini diagnostic to determine their strengths and areas for improvement. It begins by guiding each student through this mini diagnostic to determine their strengths, and each word you spell correctly, it will keep on appearing until they've fully mastered it. Each day, the children log on to play, and they'll earn a Bumble stamp. If they get a 5-day streak, they'll earn additional honey pots, which again can be used on the main Spelling Shed site. This is another view for the children. It will show the words that have come up in their play, and then it will show if they've mastered it or if they're getting there. If you haven't got Spelling Shed yet, you can sign up for a free account at edshed.com. This will give you access to the games and the online side of Spelling Shed, as well as a few weeks samples of our curriculum resources in each grade level. The premium version includes unlimited data reporting, additional features such as Mastery Zone, and all grade levels curriculum. To sign up, we have different subscriptions for parents, teachers, and schools, which are all available on the screen. But from a school perspective, it's about $5 per student per year. And if you need any help, you can always click on the Help tab and look at the guides. You can also email support at any time. If you go to the Help tab on Spelling Shed, once you sign up, there's a wealth of resources there and videos to help you get started.